If you're thinking about moving to southern Utah, you've probably looked at homes in St. George. But a city you should not overlook is Washington City. Washington City is literally right next door to St. George on the east side. And the cities blend so well, a lot of times people don't even realize which city they're in. In this video, I'm going to talk about the biggest differences between Washington City and the close by cities. I'm going to talk about what homes cost in Washington City. We're going to talk about the old part and the new part of Washington City. And what's most importantly, what area may be best for you according to your budget and lifestyle. My name is Dallin Hales. I'm your local Southern Utah realtor. I live down here and I do this full time, which means I'm available for you. People reach out to me every single week asking me about which area down here in Southern Utah that they should move to, or which area would be best for them, or why they should move to Washington versus St. George. If that's you, feel free to call me or text me. I'd love to hear from you, even if it's just a text. If you want to search for homes in Washington City right away, go ahead and click the link down in the description to get started. As you can see here, Washington City is just east of St. George. It has its own city government, parks and recreation, events, neighborhoods, developments, short-term rental rules, compared to St. George, which has downtown, the hospital, airport, more of these mainstream businesses and amenities. And an important thing to know about Washington City, which kind of goes without saying if you've been here, and Washington City is not just one uniform area. Old Town Washington is focused more along Main Street off of the freeway and Telegraph, which has museums and buildings that date back to being built by the pioneers. So, with that being said, older Washington, you'll find older homes, mature trees, some homes and buildings made from adobe, established streets, a wide variety of lot sizes. So when you buy a home in Old Town Washington, if you like the mature trees or you like historic Washington, it's very important to have a local realtor that knows Old Town Washington. If you go south towards the new part of Washington in the Washington Fields area, if you haven't seen my other video about this, you'll typically find newer homes, wide streets, new subdivisions, more active construction because it's not landlocked, new roads, new infrastructure, new roads that go towards Southern Parkway that you can take to the airport. And the Washington Fields and the new part of Washington, you'll also find a lot of luxury real estate, including some just absolutely stunning and immaculate homes. So what may be different living in Washington City versus St. George? I mean, they're right next to each other, right? In one way, living in Washington City is kind of like an extension to St. George, but there are a few differences. A lot of times people that are looking in Southern Utah want to be in the city of St. George, but maybe they don't want to be in downtown St. George. So they look at Washington City. It has a very similar feel, but maybe you want to be on the east side of St. George, or maybe you want to be closer to San Hollow. Maybe you want to be close to some of these new developments that are happening that we'll get to in a second. Washington City has its own trails, it has its own rec center, it has its own community and schools. There's a brand new on-ramp and off-ramp that goes to Main Street that makes access so much better than the Green Springs intersection. So Washington City isn't necessarily better or worse, it just gives you a different mix of Southern Utah that still feels like St. George while having a different mix, different types of homes, new growth, but still being close to St. George. Now to talk about home prices and layouts, let's start with Old Town Washington. Old Town Washington, you'll find not too many homes over $1 million. There are some good starter homes and some townhomes that are very popular. Then if you hop over to the newer part of Washington, kind of in Washington Fields, you'll often find homes between 1 and 1.5 million, 4 to 5 bedroom houses, up to 5,000 square feet, much more spacious homes out there in the fields. If you're looking in Washington City for a house, you can find a large variety. The question is, what do you want? Do you want new construction? Do you want a more mature area? Are you looking for a starter home? Are you looking for maybe your second or third home and maybe you have lots of kids? Now let's talk about some exciting developments in Washington City, because there's a lot of amenities that are in the works, such as the brand new WinCo that is being built right now as of this video at 175 West Buena Vista Boulevard. It'll be about 84,000 square feet, right, with 400 parking spaces. This is a large grocery store in the older town part of Washington. There's also several other parcels for retail and some restaurants. Now, if we hop over to the new part of Washington, there's the Paseo. And technically the Paseo's in St. George, barely, but a lot of Washington City will benefit from it. Multiple retail stores, lots more shopping, lots more dining, and a very classy area that will be almost right between St. George and Washington. And this place is still growing. There's still some farmland, but a lot of it is being built on. And the city recently approved a 2-mile long extension of Washington Fields Road that goes to the south. So we can see there's growth still happening in Old Town Washington and the newer part of Washington. And I, for one, am excited for WinCo. When it comes to schools, both St. George and Washington City are in Washington County, so they're in the same county for school districts. If you live in the Washington Fields area and you have kids, there's a good chance that your kids will go to some of the best rated schools in all of southern Utah. Now, when it comes to short-term rentals in Washington City, there are a few specific subdivisions that have been zoned properly for short-term rentals. And in my opinion, I think it's a great idea because if you want to stay in a short-term rental or an Airbnb in southern Utah, specifically Washington City, you can stay in certain subdivisions, and it makes it fun because it's more of a resort style feel, being surrounded by other Airbnb guests, other vacation tourists, and usually there's a community pool or something like that. This is an effort of Washington City to try and preserve some neighborhoods so it won't be very touristy. But as always, this is something we will verify during the buyer due diligence. So, which city should you start with? If you want easy access to downtown St. George with all of the classic restaurants, with some historic homes, a broad selection of established neighborhoods, and being in primary proximity to the St. George Hospital, a lot of office buildings. If you want to be close to Utah Tech University, if maybe you're teaching there, and close to other traditional retail places in St. George. Or a reason you may choose Washington City compared to St. George would be you love the history of southern Utah. And Washington City was technically established before St. George and it has a lot of history. Or if you like a wide open area such as Washington Fields that has a lot of more luxurious homes. Neither city is really better or worse than the other. It's just different homes, different neighborhoods. And the right answer depends on your budget. What kind of lot do you want? Do you want a spec house? Do you want a very unique house? And what would your commute look like depending on where you work? There's a lot of cities down here in southern Utah, not just Washington City and St. George. And if you want to see one of Washington City's newer areas that a lot of people are talking about and moving to, I would check out this video right here, and I'll see you in the next one.